I do believe we're live. Happy days. Right, I'm just making my way across to the desk. And hi, I'm Matt. Now, I want to give you an early heads up, and I can see it over there on the web camera. Unfortunately, I'm using a slightly different rig to what I've been using previously, and I've noticed the camera does stop out from time to time, so I would like to apologise for that in advance. Now, with that said, what are we going to be covering together in this live version is that we are going to be taking a look at the AR Stealth Wing. And of course, if you have any questions or comments as we go along, I will be checking on what any questions, comments which you have in the live chat. So Joe, welcome aboard. And Brutus, howdy as well. And I know Camel Rider, Jazzy, and there's a few others of you on here live as well. Now, there is a couple of notes which we need to get over just before we go any further. Number one is that I'd like to stress that this model was bought out of my own money for my own abuses. And we are going to be taking a look if it's as good, and I need to word this correctly, as good as the Reptile S800 we are hoping for. And I kind of already know that we've got a larger fuse area now, which means we can run a bigger battery. We've actually got a proper space to fit iNav'ing there, or a flight controller of your choice. And we'll be taking a look at some of the parts which we get in this kit. There is a link to this in the video description. It is an affiliate link, and if you use that and go on and make a purchase, you will be supporting this channel. I like to be 100% clear about that from the beginning. And ultimately, if you've got any questions, you can join in. Now, like I said, if the video does cut out from time to time, I do apologise. Slightly different setup, and fingers crossed it works all right. So, howdy E.T., Royden, howdy, sounds okay, Roddy as well. Have you pre-ordered the Mini Z84? Slow-mo FPV, it sounds like I've missed a Mini Z84 somewhere along the lines. Please go and post it in the Facebook group immediately so we can get one ordered. Now, before we continue, I'm sure many of you will remember we had the unboxing of the Nano Talon, and that little wing is brilliant. It's like my new favourite. And we also did have the unboxing a couple of days ago of the Orbit, ZOHD Orbit flying wing, which, remember, ZOHD is also SonicModell, who makes this wing as well. It's just two different trademarks which they're using. I have been inflating this one. I feel really bad about this little wing because it flies great, but I was too excited about the Nano Talon, and I have done the Maiden. I've got all the video footage on it. It does fly great, but the plan was to do a shootout between the Orbit wing and this AR wing. And the thing is that this wing is a whole different beast, and I will tackle that topic and that subject separately. All right, so I just wanted to keep you up to date with that. So let's get this live chat back open, and I've typed in the wrong pass. We'll get there. And remember, this is being recorded live, so we leave all screw-ups in. And I can tell you my finger is killing me from the last time. Sorry, Martin, about that. Howdy, Alex FPV as well. I tell you what, let's get straight back in and we will get this one unboxed and take a look. I also want to give you early warning as well. We will be flying this one on Sunday as well, so she will be going for a maiden. Don't know if that'll be alive from the flight line or not, but we will hit record. There is a couple of notes. Now, Sean's already been and received his in the Facebook group. We need to look out for what state the elevons are like. Remember that my elevons weren't great with the S800. I've seen a picture of Sean's AR.Wing, and the elevons weren't great. And we also need to pay special attention to the wing tips as well, and how well they're fixed on as well. I know Sean had mentioned that he may just hot glue his on. We'll take a look at that as well. Let's have a quick look. The film is starting. I want my money back. Sorry, E.T. I will refund you exactly what you paid. And I'm guessing that was probably Sweet FA. So anyway, let's go and get this one open and take a look. And all I've literally done is that it came in and out of box. And first things first, it does look like it's well packed. So how well that is, that again, you know, some of you may not know the history to this. I had a run of 4 models in a row, all smashed to pieces recently. And the last 2 models, they turned up, they were extremely well packed. The Nano Talon and the Orbit Wing, both very, very well packed. looks like SonicModell have done this a decent job, and I've got these packed as well. Simone, tell us which one is best. That is the curiosity. Which one is best for the purposes which you want it? And again, this is why I can't do, like, I wanted a shootout between the AR Stealth-Wing and the Orbit, but the thing is that the Orbit won't take a smack into a tree at 100 miles an hour. It will just disintegrate into a million pieces, because they say it's made of EPP, when in reality, I'll show you now, is that the black foam on the bottom, that's EPP, but the white foam on the top is actually EPO foam. That is not EPP. It's too soft. Whereas EPP is much more a more rigid foam, and a much tougher one. Generally speaking, as pilots which are likely to hit trees more often than not, is that you generally want EPP foam for your models. Nabilis, we will do some measurements of the fuse area. I'm really curious on that in a few, as well. Let's have a quick look. And Rentap FPV, howdy fella too. So I'm just getting these bits open, and we get some stickers. Don't know if I'll be keeping the stickers. We do get a nice little diagram of the blowout layout as well. And again, those of you which saw the preview, I don't know how well that's coming out on the camera. Those of you which saw the preview to this, is that we did have some basic pictures. Right, I think we're in like sin. So I'll tell you what, let's go for the bigger box first. Let's get this one out of the way. And again, well packed, put it that way. There was a dent in the top right-hand corner, but it didn't look like anything substantial. And again, if you're buying this model from China specifically, is that you want to know that your parts are going to turn up, and you want to know that your parts are going to arrive in one piece and not be smashed to a million pieces. So I do think I need my little craft knife. Yeah, fingers crossed, no damage. How many times have we seen models here turned up as damaged? Remember, I do post the videos where they are damaged and when they're not. And typically when they are, I'm not a very happy camper. And again, I've mentioned this before a few times. If you get a model arrive and it looks a bit iffy, the box, get your camera out and record the unboxing. Only if you just intend for your own personal reference, but if something is damaged, then there's no argument. Banggood, wherever you've been and bought it from, it looks, they will be able to see you unpackaging it. And first things first, I've got the same little dents as what Sean has. So let's go and pick. And again, this must be a boxing issue on their end, because this box, which I've just taken these wings out of, is perfect. Okay, we've had bubble wrap around it. The box outside, there's no dents in the box at all. But on that corner, which, there we go, I've just seen the camera lag a bit. Down there in that corner, it is a little bit dented. So I saw that on Sean's as well. And there is marks. And again, they're only very minor marks on top, to be fair. But there are marks on there. And that must, and I stress, must have been done in the factory before being packed. Because it's just too well boxed for it to be anything else, you know. So let's get that box out of the way. 2 wings, decent size, nice servo mounting. Not entirely sure how we're supposed to get a servo down that hole, but we will have a look in a few moments. Stickers, stick those out of the way. And Hallie FPV says, is it molded, Max says, is it molded EPP? Categorically yes, it looks like molded EPP, and you're going to have to excuse this. This is going to come out loud on the microphone. That is molded EPP. If you did that with an EPO wing, it would have been dented to you know what next week. This one, it's still straight, and again, apologies for the banging noise on the thing. That's how you know it's EPP. If you did that with EPO, it would be in a million pieces or dented to your like. So I've got an empty box. No kidding, I've just opened it up and it's an empty box. I guess that's for the plug and play kit, which would have had a motor and some servos and whatever else in there. Oh, I tell you what I have just been and noticed, is that me bashing it on the desk, I have just been and broken the Elevon hinge. Now, that is actually really curious because that now tells me that I really need to put some blendum tape on that hinge, not only on this side, but also on the other side as well. And if you've not heard of blendum before, after this video is finished, look on underneath this video, it says Matthew Ogborn. I'm Matt, by the way. Click on Matthew Ogborn, and then in the search bar on the right hand side, search for blendum, B-E-L-D-E-R-M, and I'll show you how to put that on the right way onto your elevons. So yeah, me just making a point on that has just been highlighted that the hinges are not the best. Now this one, I didn't smack around. Yeah, and then looking at that, yeah, you definitely need a bit of tape on those hinges. They're not going to last extended use on there, so yeah, you definitely want to put some tape on there. Of course, you could laminate the wing as well. Those of you which are maybe laminated a wing before or a model before, it's pretty straightforward. So you do have a little bit of an odd shape up there, but yeah, shouldn't be too hard by any stretch of the imagination. It's only a wing, but yeah, it definitely does need a bit of tape on there. Max, yes. That's how we test models here. This is why I was saying about the other day we're going to fly it into a tree at a ton, because that's really what we're going to do. Remember, my own model, we're going to find out if it's worth the money or not, as the case may be. And as I'm here chatting away, I've just been and opened up the main fuselage. Again, very well packed. There was some extra foam in the box, whatever that white stuff is. And again, I'm using it underneath the microphone to kind of stop some of the banging on the desk from something which I picked up some from your feedback in the previous live version. Aussie FPV, been waiting for this unboxing before I ordered mine. Aussie, you've kind of raised this really important note, is that this is just the unboxing and it really is just the first look at this kit. Remember, we always hold off final judgment until we get the model in the sky. And the reason for that is simple. I've had, and I'm sure you've seen this before with other models, maybe even experienced it yourself. You may have had a model, and I know that I've had models like this, which have been an absolute ball bag to get set up and get out onto the flight line. But the second you get them out onto the flight line, they fly absolutely amazingly well. And then I'm sure you've had models which have been really quick to put together, and then you've gone out and flown it and it's flown like a complete dog, and you wondered to yourself, why the hell did I buy that model? So Aussie FPV, do keep that in the back of your mind. We always hold off final judgment until we get the model out and fly it. And again, by the way, I can tell you point blank, when the Nano Talon, that is definitely my favourite little model at the moment. We've iNav'd the living daylights out of it, and it flies fantastically well with a full-blown OSD, decent stabiliser in there now, and return to home as well. Really, really cool. So anyway, I could talk about the Nano Talon all day long. This one, Aussie FPV, and of course anybody else watching this, we always hold off final judgment until we get the model in the sky, and this one will be maidened at Sunday at the latest. Okay, so that's when we'll know for sure what it kind of flies like, and I'll be able to give you some feedback on there, whether we do that live from the flight line or we do a recorded version. I'm not entirely sure yet, so if you're not already subscribed, underneath this video where it says Matt Ogborn, click on subscribe, and YouTube will let you know the moment the next episode is out and live. So I am going to pause for a moment to catch my breath and take a moment to read the questions. And of course you can see the comments and the questions which are coming in live. If you are watching the recorded version, remember you can leave a comment underneath this video as well. Sorry Aussie FPV if it's 2 AM for it. Excuse me. And those of you which know, I am suffering from what has been flu for the last 2 weeks, and we're on the way out of that. Let's have a quick look. Hallie, there's a promo video on SonicModell with some of these AR.Wings have tape over the elevons. Yes, it definitely does need tape over those elevons on there. Let's have a quick. Grumpy says, do you like the Nano? Maybe, just a little bit. I do like that one. And again, one of the biggest markers for me personally, like with a nano talon, is that if I smashed it up today, I would go and buy another one. That is probably one of the biggest markers which I can give you. I like it. It's extremely compact. I've been just sticking it in the bag and going for a walk and then going and flying. That is pretty damn cool in my book anyway. Richard says on there, Matt, what's your best FPV wing for learning FPV? Personally speaking, Richard, the Reptile S800 has been really popular. And excuse me, the reason why it's been really popular is because it is really tough. So if you've not flown FPV with a wing before, Reptile S800, it's about $50, give or take a few bucks, you know, and I'm guessing you've probably got some components kicking around. Really straightforward to set up, and again, I've flown that S800, which I had previously, into a tree at 100 miles an hour, and it survived. Again, even on its maiden FPV flight, be it 2 trees, I think, something like that, and that wing was... We seriously abused it, so I hope that helps, Richard. And I've just seen Elroy pop on there. I love my S800. And again, I thought the S800 was a fantastic wing, but we did have a few issues with that one, mainly around the size of the battery which we could fit in there, and also any extra components like iNav, for example. So anyway, I'm here getting these parts open. We'll take a look what else we got in this last box. This will be iNav, yes, of course it will be, and we get some other parts in the other box. Again, really well packed. You've got to give them 9 out of 10 for packaging, and they would have got 10 if those things hadn't been dented on the end of the wingtips. Really well packed, and that's the kind of info which you need to know, because if you're paying whatever this was, say $85, whatever it was, if you're paying $85 out of your own money, you want to know that it's going to turn up. And it's going to be in good or fighting form. So just like the Orbit wing, we do get 3 different nose cones. We've got the Session or the Runcam Free format. We've got the GoPro. And again, I can see the camera lagging over there, apologies. You've got the GoPro format, so I'm guessing the one which is on the nose is the Runcam 2, or of course you could just put your FPV camera in the nose on this one. So with that said, we've got some wingtips, we've got some screws, and I can see what Sean said about these wingtips, whether they're going to last or not. We'll get a screwdriver, we'll pop it together. But the bit which I'm really curious on is how on earth does this fuse go together? So we will take a look at this. Ah, there we go, pops open. Ah, look at that. So I'll just take the, well, I'll tell you what, I'll leave the nose on. What I just had, and I'll show you this up on the camera. In fact, why don't I come round and then you can have a closer look then. There you go. So the audio is going to go a bit strange, but you can have a look to see what I've got in the box, well, inside the fuselage. We've got 2, by the looks of it, mounting points. So I'm guessing that one there is for the Runcam or Session Free. Sorry, the Runcam Free or the Session. And that one there is for a GoPro style camera. We do get some thumb screws and some other screws in here as well. And of course, I just want to quickly show you the nose section. It's just 2 magnets which clip on the end. So taking a camera and putting a camera in and out really is nice and straightforward. And apologies if the camera's cutting out for you. Like I said earlier, I am running a slightly different setup today. Now, I do want to go and measure that fuselage, because that fuse is a fair old size, so I can get my hand in there. So I'm going to go and get the ruler out and we'll go and get that measured up fuse, so you know how big that fuselage is. And I will get a couple of standard batteries as well. Again, remember, it doesn't really matter how many batteries you can stuff in here. It all really matters whether we're going to hit CG or not, and that is quite a peculiar motor mount, so we will take a look at that in a moment. So let's go and get the ruler out. Sorry, I've just seen Grumpy's message in there. I'm allowed to watch when the missus isn't home. Cheese Steve says you should put the Runcam split in that wing. Cheesy, that came up in the last live episode. I will never buy a Runcam split. They just seem ridiculously expensive for what they are, because you put it in one model, and that's great if you've only got one model. I don't have one model, and a much better value for money would be using perhaps a Runcam 2 instead, which for me you can just Velcro and stick on any model which you like. So that's what I'll be doing with mine. I won't ever own a Runcam split because they are specific to one model. They get ridiculously hot and fiddly cables. They don't look like they could take a smack, whereas I know that with a Runcam 2, both of mine have been hitting the ground numerous times at varying speeds and they still work, you know. So yeah, I will never get a Runcam split for any of my models, I'm afraid. Let's have a quick look. Anyway, let's go on to the fuselage. Right, the width is approximately 4.5 inches. Okay, for the vast majority of the fuselage, and the depth is, we'll say, just a hair under 6 inches. So 4.5 inches wide by 6 inches deep. Do be aware there's like little triangles here, and those triangles go for about 4.5 inches back from the leading edge. There's also plenty of room for your camera. Again, you'd fit a Runcam 2 down in the nose. Easily you would fit a Session, of course, and or a GoPro style camera in the nose, that's for sure. Let's go and get a battery and see what's going on with that. So I'll be back with you in just a moment. I will grab a selection. Let's grab that one. We'll grab that one because I really don't think that's going to fit. So I've grabbed a couple of batteries, and I can looking at this. So we'll go with a basic one. 2200 milliamp for 3S. That's just a standard Turnigy one. Yeah, that's going to fit in there really easily. That's for sure. I do have a graphene 1.8 3S 4S pack. Sorry, 4S just fits in there. Now, if that just fits in there, a 2200 4S pack will also fit in there as well. They're very, very similar in sizes. I also have a Multi-Star 4000 milliampere 3S pack as well. So that is one of the 10C ones. Great for longer extended flight times. That will fit in there nice and easily as well. Again, question mark over the lid whether that fits in there in one go. But we'll give that a punt now and see if it actually will close. Which the answer is yes, it will close, but it's up on one side. A similar issue to what we had with the Orbit.Wing. It does probably need a little bit of scraping again. That's 4000 milliamperes on 3S, and of course that was vertically. If you put it around the other way, it would definitely fit in there for sure. And there's no way in a Blue Monkey you would get a 5200 4S pack in there. It's just not big enough. But just to reiterate, you could if your battery pack is 4.5 inches wide, chances are it will fit in there, that's for sure, because there's a couple of 1/8 of an inch slack on there as well. Howdy Kev as well, and howdy to Paulo from Italy too. So there's fuselage. It does look like it's well built. We do have two nice big meaty skids on the bottom. So as far as chucking it, I'm guessing we'll try it in a minute when we got the wings on, but that does look meaty. Now, talking about getting the wings on, let's go and get these batteries out of the way and see if we can get it put together pretty quickly. There's no manual in the box per se. There's just a photograph of or a split diagram which we've got there. So tell you what, let's get these open. Interesting little thumb screws. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'm going to come around there and just show you this one because they are a little bit odd. Again, I hope that comes out okay. You can see the little thumb screw in there. So hopefully that's just, well, I assume that's all of what we're gonna be using to attach the wings on. Now this wing does have a side mounted, and where on earth does this spar go? Looks like the spar goes back here. Now, is it carbon fibre? Curiosity. You may have picked up from the last live unboxing that the difference between glass fibre and carbon fibre is glass fibre does not conduct electricity, whereas carbon fibre does. So, short, yeah. Is it glass fibre or is it carbon fibre? I'll have put it on volts. We'll quickly just check that out. Right, there we go, 0 ohms. 0 ohms, we get a carbon fibre spar. So in this case, no expense spared. I know the carbon fibre, some pilots will say that, oh, it gets in the way of your FPV transmission. I can assure you, I've ran models to the 9s with carbon fibre and not really ever had an issue with FPV transmission or reception. So it is carbon fibre. I'd class that as carbon happy days because that is a more expensive component, which hopefully improves the strength of it. So let's get that wing in. That does, again, I've not carved or checked the seals or anything. I'm just here sticking it together where I kind of think it's what's about right. And I'm just doing up the thumb screw in the middle, which is nice and easy. That's gone in there nice and tight. That's the main spar's just clunked across. I do wonder how we're going to get that servo wire in there, and if they've glued, I'll tell you what, I'll have a look on the other one. Get on with it, man. Yeah, I will get on with it as soon as I can. That is a bit frustrating that they've included, you've got a hole in there for the servo, but you can't actually wire the blooming thing up. So you're going to have to break, again, remember, this is my model, so I'm here just using a ruler, and I probably should be using a craft knife. You've got a hole there for the servo wire, but a standard servo wire is questionable whether it's going to be that long. And it does look like it's going to be fun, in inverted commas, to get that in. Anyway, let's get this other wing on. So servos do have a question around them. And again, this is why we always do follow-up videos afterwards to see what they're actually like. And again, you living with the model, using it, it is very different to the actual unboxing of the model itself. Look at those hinges. The control horns look like they're alright, and we do have some push rods with some half decent connectors on there as well. That's happy days. Don't have to go in the parts box to get them. Let's see if I can root out a screwdriver from down here as well, and we'll get those wingtips on too. There is the smaller part of the wingtip on the ground, so I've got the right one now. I'm going to pop that up. Again, is it easy to put together? Are you going to need any complex tools? A screwdriver so far, and that's been about it. That's the only tool which I've been and grabbed for. I didn't even need a knife to get into the box itself. So quickly tighten these ones up. And again, this is where I like the live stuff, because this isn't polished. This is literally as it's happening in real life, and as in real life, you drop screws. So we'll stuff that in there. I will check the battery for you lengthways. Do keep in the back of your mind, that battery, that 5200 pack, may fit in there. Whether we hit CG or not is a whole different ballpark. There is a difference between able to cram, like the Nano Talon, we were able to fit in two 2200 3S packs into the nose area. But then in reality, that model would have been grossly, and I mean grossly, nose heavy. So there is a difference between being able to fit the battery in there and then being able to fly it with the battery in there as well. So let's get this other wingtip on here and get that. Excuse the sniffles there. Like I said, I am still recovering from a dose of man flu at the moment. So let's go and get these lined up. Okay, Hallie says, I put the Emax ES08MA 9-gram servos in. The wire goes down fine, Matt. Gravity pulls it down. Happy days, you don't need to cut into it. Well, I technically didn't cut into mine. I did just try ramming the ruler down the side of it. So that will be a little bit of fun, seeing if that goes on. And I don't think I've put that on the right place at all. No, I haven't. I need to put that in the right place, which is just there. Right, that's just bitten. And we'll do the other side while we're at it. And we'll line that one up. Let the wife build it, she does it better. Thank you, Joe. You can kind of see the gin on from the heckling in the rear seats. Thank you, Joe. Right, let's get those done up. And again, let's get that one screwed up as well. I do see what Sean mentioned now about these wingtips, whether a little bit of hot glue would be advisable to make sure that they stay on, because yeah, I think they might need it. And also, this isn't really something which you would do on the flight line, is it? You wouldn't whip out your screwdriver and then just screw the wingtips on. You would leave them on. So how well those wingtips last long term, I'm not entirely sure. Now, how stiff is it? Not remarkably stiff. There is quite a bit of flex in the top, which is not surprising because the main wing spar only goes across that middle section. So is there, and again, they've got glass fiber or carbon fiber strips up underneath. And also note, so far, I have not used any glue at all. Keep that in the back of your mind. There's been no glue in here at all. Like with the, say with the Reptile S800, we did have to glue that one up. And let's get the lid in. There we go. We do have the run cam mount on the side. We've got a nice little simple lid. Nice four really good magnets. If you listen to this click in, that really does click in really well. For the motor mount on the back, I will be honest with you, I will put some goop glue round the back of the motor mount. It looks like a standard 28-26 kind of motor, that size of can, which we can run on the back. We do have a question mark about getting the servos in. We will definitely be putting some Blendum tape down those hinges, because when those of you which have just been and joined us, you may or may not know that Matt smashed that wing really hard on the desk just to make the point that it really was EPP foam and not EPO foam. Besides that, it does look the part. It's not particularly heavy. Now, I do know that someone's bound to ask me, Matt, what is the weight? And we'll quickly weigh it, because it doesn't weigh a lot, that's for sure. So let's stick those on there quickly. Right. What is the weight? It is 200, make sure that's not touching anywhere. No, 216 grams. Now, in ounces, that is 7.6 ounces. Okay, so 214 grams to 7.6 ounces. So, yeah, not a lot at all. It is super light. Now, do remember that's obviously missing servos, battery, HD camera, FPV camera, flight controller. Will we be able to fit a flight controller in this one? Yes, that's for sure. Look at the size of the fuse area in there. You would easily be able to get your battery, and again, you most likely want your battery up there at the front. And there's definitely room in there to fit a flight controller in there, whether that be something like an Eagle Tree Vector or a flight control board like for the Omnibus F4, for example. Sorry, the F4. Now, as far as CG, we do have a CG in the box. It is marked on here with two little round circles, which got CG up underneath the wing. Now, for those, I know someone's going to ask me roughly how far is that away from the leading edge. That is approximately, I say approximately, 165 centimeters or 6.5 inches from the leading edge, or the very front of the nose itself. Launching this model, I don't think it's going to be an issue. It is just going to be a case of grabbing the bottom, those hand grips on the bottom, and then just overhead chuck. It's going to be pretty straightforward. So in Matt's case, as we all know, that Matt has a very bad launch pattern, which is just grab it by the wing and then just chuck it in the sky, and off we go. So yeah, all in all, it's pretty good. One massive note before we wrap up. This is a black model, okay? Take it from me, I'm not... For all intents and purposes, I'm an experienced pilot, okay? And if I can lose orientation of a model like this, like I did with the S800, is that I would strongly suggest that you put some spray paint or some tape on this wing. It does come with some white stickers, okay? What I do feel would be a very good idea would be to put some white stripes on the bottom and make sure the patterns are different from the top to the bottom, because you will get disorientated with a black model in the sky. It is very, very easily done, and I can assure you with the Reptile S800, which was also a black wing, I got disorientated in the sky. So if I get disorientated, chances are you might too, so please take away that tip. Now it is EPP foam. That does mean just cheapo paints from Holford's, which is an auto company here in the United Kingdom. I'm just going to use some white primer on mine. Most of these paints are acrylic based. It's normally the propellant which causes an issue. Of course, you can test it out maybe on the underside of a lid or something like that. Just make sure it doesn't melt the foam. Most paints nowadays are safe for foam themselves. So I will be putting some spray paint on this wing, definitely to help with orientation. And plus, we can make it look pretty cool while you're at it. And by the way, I'll give you a quick hint. It doesn't take you very long to end up with a stash of paints like that, because spray paint is super cheap. Yeah, I will be using a collection of colours on mine. So yeah. Saying that, we got some pink in there, in fact, actually, we got some fluorescent yellow. Don't know, choices are good. No idea what colour that one's going to be, but I'm sure you will find out pretty soon, because remember, the maiden for this one is set for the weekend. Now, someone did ask about that bigger battery. Will it fit in the other way round? I'm sure it will do. So that's the 5200 4S. Remember, we're not checking CG or anything like that. The answer to that is that no, it won't, because the spar is in the way. So I turn that around the other way. Yeah, you won't get that 5200 4S pack in there. You probably wouldn't have hit CG anyway. It would have been grossly nose heavy. And yeah, unfortunately, it won't fit. But any of those 2200 packs, so a 2200 3S, 2200 4S, the 4000 3S, the multi-star tendency pack would have fitted in there. Yeah, anything around that range. Maybe you want to put two 3S, 1300 packs together. That would also work as well. Again, I'm a big believer in like using what you got. So in my case, it would either been that 1.8 graphene. I've got some 2200 4S packs in there. I'm sure they would have fitted too as well. So yeah, happy days. That is the AR Stealth Wing. We do get a couple of other cages which I've really not touched on. They're just a bit of plywood, nicely made plywood, I hasten to add, and actually pre-glued. A couple of different nose cones as well. Let's have a quick look. Lawrence says, I want pink for it. Andrew Bolton, howdy Andy, says the yellow is Austin's colour. I agree with you. Joe says my S800 is pink and yellow. And yeah, Lawrence is got the green as well. Maybe pink and yellow, says Joe as well. And I can see there's some chat on there. Slow-mo FPV also says Plaster Dip, and again, you've probably already seen this in the comments section down at the bottom. Plaster Dip is supposed to work really well with molded EPP. It does, because it also works really well on the mini Drac. I've seen multiple people use that as well. Anyway, it's time for me to wrap up. That is the AR Stealth Wing. This is the first look. We've just got it unboxed. It was really simple to put together. Halley FPV, thank you fella. He says putting the servo wires in there is really straightforward. Just use gravity to get them down. Hopefully that's as simple as it is. All I'm going to do is just use a bit of dirty hot glue to hold down the servo in the wing, to glue it down. Maybe put a bit of tape over the top. Let's talk about setup for this wing. I will be using Tower Pro MG90S servos in the wing because they're cheap. Well, in fact, they're cheaper than the cheap Hobby King servos. Work that one out for metal geared. I will be putting some Blendum tape on the elevons because Matt kind of broke one of them when he was bashing it on the desk to show you that it was pretty tough. The motor, now it was Christian which asked this earlier. Now, assuming that you come out about 2 inches, okay, so approximately 2 inches, you will be able to swing a 9-inch prop on the back of there. If you put a much smaller motor on there, so maybe you put like a 2204 or 2205 motor, then you're only really going to be able to swing a 6-inch propeller. That is the difference between if you're if you've only got a small can motor, okay, you're only going to fit a 6-inch propeller in this gap between those 2 points. If you come beyond there, then you are going to get up to about 9-inch propeller before you start hitting on these edges here. And of course you could craft some of those out with a sharp craft knife. Of course I'll leave that to your own decision. But yeah, 6-inch if it's a smaller, maybe quadcopter motor. If you've got a bigger can, maybe like the X22 16 1250 kV motor, which is always a favorite of mine, with maybe an 8-inch prop, maybe an 8x6 prop, which is a great combo for that motor. I'm sure it would fit on there fine, that's for sure. So couple of queries around the motor which we might use on this one. I might go for a lower kV, again greater flight efficiency, or I might put a racing quad motor on the back of it and go for something a little bit rah-rah and a little bit faster, to say the least. As far as FPV goes, we will put the FPV camera in the side mount. It looks like it's just a standard, like a standard run cam FPV camera mount in there. That said, you could of course put your camera mounted in the nose if you want to, if you don't want to use the side mounted piece. Or you could use your run cam 2, for example, that can be set up for it, or the Mobius as well. Again, I don't know if you can do that on your run cam 3 or via a GoPro, but if you could, again, just change the nose cone over, which is just straightforward, a couple of magnets, clunk them in and off you go. There is plenty of room in that nose, something which we've just not looked at all. There's plenty of room in there as well. And yeah, all in all, not that bad. The curiosity, is it worth the extra money compared to the S800? And that's a question which I cannot answer until we go out and get this one flown. Because as you know, we always hold our final judgment until we get the model in the sky, because it might be quick to put together. It might be really simple to stick our components in there and off we go. But if it flies like a complete dog, then of course it wouldn't be worth the money, because there's plenty of other models out there which are worth your money, in short. So we always hold off final judgment until we get the model in the sky. This one is scheduled in for its maiden this weekend, whether that's actually tomorrow or on Sunday, not entirely sure yet. So if you would like to find out the rest of the story on this model, don't forget to press the subscribe button underneath this video. If you have any questions or comments about this wing, please just ask. You will get an honest answer, because remember, this model was bought out of my own money for my own abuses, and I assure you we will be abusing her quite frequently as well. Now, let's have a quick look at the chat just to make sure I've not missed anything on there. Simone says, I will give you a quick comparison, because I actually have the Orbit wing here and there's the AR Stealth below. For all intents and purposes, they've got exactly the same wingspan. One of them, which is the AR Stealth wing, is made out of all EPP. Okay, that black foam is EPP, whereas the Orbit wing is made out of black EPP on the bottom and white EPO foam on the top. And I am 99.9% sure that is white EPO foam, not EPP. It feels wrong. If you can compare it to the black EPP, it's a different construction. It's just like the foam which you maybe get in a Micro Skymunter, for example. So there's them side by side. Again, can't give you a direct comparison, because that Orbit wing has some great positives to it as well. That is the construction. You get to the flight line and you clip on the wings, you stick your battery in, goggles down, and off you go. This one is not that case. You've got a screw on the wings. Yeah, it's a curiosity. Which one is better? I don't know. It actually kind of depends upon your purposes. And also remember, we have not flown this one yet. I have flown that one. It flew pretty well considering the conditions. It was not an ideal flying day. It was windy. We had crosswinds. and so on and so on. It did well considering. And it also, that, by the way, that Orbit wing did really well because Matt made it really tail heavy and it took off vertically in front of us and it still survived. So yeah, good fun. Anyway, coming back to your chat. Grumpy, we will be looking forward to the Maiden. I'm looking forward to the Maiden. Dead simple build. The simpler they are, the more I like them. Happy days. Simone, I hope that helped you. Let's have a quick look. So Holly, in comparison to this. Yeah. Yeah, then again, Hallie, that's one thing as well. The S800 had less flex in it. But there are some photos in the Facebook group. Now, shameless plug. In the video description below, there is a link to the Rag the Nuts Off Facebook group. There is a direct comparison made, but Sean's received one of these as well. He's got a photograph where he compares the size of the bay and he compares his S800 to this AR Stealth wing. Okay, this wing does have a deeper chord. Maybe it's the evolution from the S800. Right now, the S800 is, I think, about $50. This model's about $80. Maybe it is, maybe the AR Stealth wing. And again, I notice my wording here. Maybe, okay, because we've not flown it yet. We always hold our final judgment. Maybe it is the Model On for those of you which have had an S800 and you want a bigger battery. You want to be able to flit a flight controller there and not have everything so crammed in. Okay, that could be the progression on. But we don't know until we go out and get it flown, okay? Always keep that in the back of your mind. So let's have a quick look at your chat on there. Joe says, I live in Texas. Everything must be bigger on there. And yeah, happy days. Andrew says, love the Orbit. I do like the Orbit. And I feel, again, this is the thing is, for me as a reviewer, is that I feel really sorry. In fact, I feel so sorry. I'm gonna bring it back here and put it on the screen because I know we're supposed to be chatting about the AR Stealth wing, but I feel really bad about the Orbit because the day we were to put this one out for its maiden, my heart was with the Nano Talon, and this one got flown around. We had a bit of a chit. Well, you'll see the video sooner or later, and we took it out, we had a chit chat, we had a horrible maiden. Like I said, it was grossly tail heavy. It just went straight up for the sky. You brought it around and got it landing. Put a bigger battery in it and it was much, much more well behaved then. Again, operator issue, not model issue. And it is great. And again, if it's my money, I would have bought a Nano Talon and that would have been it. But we got the Orbit wing. And it just got put to shame, from my point of view, because of the Nano Talon. That's where my interest was. But this one, it literally just fold up. That's the kind of pieces. And then you just turn up on the flight line or wherever you're flying to, and you just click them in. You know, I'm not really paying much attention there. And you just literally just click the wings in. And there's no servos in the wing. The servos already came pre-installed. The stabilizer is not bad, and I'm never going to say anything bad, to be brutally honest, about inbuilt stabilizers, because I personally feel they're a fantastic idea. You can fit a decent sized battery in there, and again, you can have a nose in there. That's the Orbit wing, and if you've not seen that one yet, I've got an unboxing video on that on the YouTube channel, and we will get the maiden video out in the impending future. So it's time for us to go. If you've been enjoyed today's episode, well, I sincerely hope that you've been enjoyed today's live episode. This is the AR Stealth Wing. This is the first time I've looked at it. If you're not already subscribed, for a couple of times I've already mentioned it, we never pass final judgment until we get a model in the sky. Again, there's a question around what setup I'm going to use for motor and ESC and what camera I'm going to put in it at the moment, and whether I carry on and put iNav in it. I may just go au naturel with it to begin with and just get it flying and then make a decision. I don't know just yet. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. You can do that underneath this video where it says Matthew Ogborn. Press the red button and you'll get notified the next time we get a video out on this one or one of the other models which we've been discussing about. But ultimately, I would like to say a massive thank you to you. Thank you for you, which have been enjoying us here for this live session. And remember, if you are watching the recorded version, any questions you've got, please just ask in the comments section underneath this video. And on that note, thank you to everybody who's been on here live, you have made it really, really good fun. And on that note, it's time for me to go. For myself, Matt, with a very cold cup of coffee. I'll see you next time. Cheerios!